Hello Leafs Nation, I'm Rick Scarborough and you're watching Blue and White Weekly, where we bring you weekly updates on the Leafs and the hockey world at large. With all the injuries happening to the Leafs this past week, I'm starting to hope I'm next so that I don't have to do this stupid show, but that's not what's important. What's important is we have a brand new week of Maple Leafs hockey to talk about, so let's get into the news. Before we get into the games of the week, let's take a look at some news from around the hockey world. It was announced this week that MLSC, the Leafs' parent company, have signed a deal with WWE to collaborate on merch, promotions, and events. As part of this deal, WWE superstars will be making appearances at a pair of Leafs games in late January, the same weekend that Monday Night Raw returns to Scotiabank Arena. I'm still hoping the deal would include signing Braun Breaker and Big Bronson Reed as a defense pairing because, we could use the physicality. Sabrina Carpenter performed a series of shows in Toronto this past week, during one of which she pulled a hockey stick out on stage and shot a puck into the crowd. Not a bad shot. Is she willing to play third-line center? The New Jersey Devils announced this week that forward Jack Hughes will miss 6 to 8 weeks of action following an injury sustained during a team dinner. Clearly, Jack has been playing too much Red Dead Redemption 2 and decided to try his hand at five-finger fillet. And finally, on Monday, the New York Rangers and Detroit Red Wings met at Madison Square Garden, where both teams wore their centennial uniforms in a rare color versus color game. As far as I can tell, this is the first time a regular season NHL matchup has not had a team skating in a white jersey since December 7th, 2018, when the Carolina Hurricanes wore red uniforms in a visit to the Anaheim Ducks. In classic Original Six fashion, the Rangers-Red Wings game ended in a bench-clearing brawl when Mason Appleton shot the puck into the empty New York net at the buzzer, which Rangers goalie Jonathan Quick took exception to. My take? The league needs more of this. The rivalry, the heated moments, the stunning combination of uniforms. This was a great game. And now let's get into the games of the week. The sad, sad games. On Tuesday, the Leafs visited Boston for their second meeting with the Bruins in as many weeks. That previous matchup was final score 5-3 Bruins. Foreshadowing is a funny thing, isn't it? The Leafs played a bad game in this one, looking like a Timbits team in their own end, and it's totally not worth going goal by goal, moment by moment, as I usually do. There are two very important talking points coming out of this night, however, and that's the loss of Anthony Stolarz and Austin Matthews. Both players left this game with injury, Matthews with a lower body injury and Stolarz with upper body. No further update has been given on either player, other than that they have been placed on injured reserve retroactive to the date of this game, November 11th. A bit of a better game from the Leafs in Tuesday's game at home against the LA Kings, where they actually showed moments of being a cohesive unit. Keyword there being moments. Bobby McMahon and John Tavares kicked off the scoring with the only goals of the first period. Leafs lead 2-0. Leafs are also shooting at a 50% scoring rate so far, as they only had 4 shots on goal that whole period. The Kings answered back in the second with Warren Foegele and Kevin Fiala both scoring to tie it, but Tavares would get his second of the game before the end of the middle frame, and it's 3-2 Leafs. Once again, the Leafs only got 4 shots on goal in that entire 20 minutes. So the Leafs begin the third with a 3-2 lead and 8 shots on goal. They end the third tied 3-3 with 15 shots on goal. And they wouldn't get another shot on goal all game as Quinton Byfield wraps it up with the only shot of overtime. Leafs lose 4-3. And that brings us to Saturday and a road game against the Chicago Blackhawks. The talking point coming into this one was that it would be the season debut for Joseph Woll. Typically, a goaltender who misses training camp, let alone the first 18 games of the season, doesn't start out so hot. How did Woll fare? He actually might have been the best player on the ice for the Leafs. Ryan Green opened up the scoring for the Blackhawks, but Nick Robertson answered back quick for the Leafs to close the period 1-1. Also of note in the first, there was a bit of pushing and shoving going down between Connor Bedard and Easton Cowan of all people, with them even shouting at each other while sitting on the bench. Morgan Rielly would pick up the lone goal of the second to give the Leafs a lead, but it's one they couldn't hold on to as Chicago picks up a pair in the third. Leafs lose 3-2. On the bright side, the Leafs had 33 shots on goal in this one. That's more than double from last game. Looking ahead in the week, the St. Louis Blues come to town on Tuesday, then the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday, before the Leafs head off to Montreal to square off with the Habs on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday. We'll have all those games for you next week, plus so much more, but for now, thank you very much for watching Leafs Nation. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember, go Leafs, go! We'll see you next week.